Ojuju. So, if you're saying I've never heard of this movie, it's normal. This is not a well-known movie. I don't even know how I came across this movie, to be honest. But this is a Nollywood movie. So we don't know it here in North America, and I'm unknown to what its popularity is in Africa. It currently has like only 200 to 300 ratings on IMDb, so it's normal that you don't know it. Just stick with me and I'll run you through the deets of this movie. First of all, what is Nollywood? America has Hollywood, India has Bollywood, Nigeria has Nollywood. How Nollywood differs from Bollywood, though. Bollywood is very high production, very colorful, lots of music, lots of stimulus thrown at your face. To be honest, I tried watching Bollywood movies, and it's a bit too much for me. There's like too much stimulus going on in my face that it kind of gives me a headache after a while. But I'm open to give it another shot. I've just tried a few times, and it wasn't for me. Same thing with anime. Anime has too much stimulus where it's just like, whoa. But Nollywood is not like that. It's not that high budget feel. It's quite the opposite, actually. Nollywood has a very cheap, pump it out quickly feel to it. So if Bollywood movies are novels, think of Nollywood like magazines, just like crank it out as fast as possible, and next issue and next issue. So they have a higher volume of film compared to Bollywood, but they're more cheaply made. But because of that model that Nollywood adapted, it's slowly creeping up to same levels as Bollywood as far as number of views. Look, I like Nollywood movies. I have a fondness for them. Not like there's so much passion that goes into making these movies that you can't help but smile when you watch them. Everyone doing this movie, first of all, most of the people doing these kind of movies are in impoverished nations. So anyone who has the burning desire to make a film in those kind of circumstances, usually out of their own money, obviously the heart and the passion is going to come through the lens and you're going to see it. And that's why I really like Nollywood movies. So you might be at home wondering, like, what's this pasty white dude? Why does he watch Nollywood movies? Fun story about that. I don't know why I'm saying this and putting it on YouTube, but whatever. So my friend is Nigerian, and I had a crush on her roommate, who was also Nigerian, I think. I can't remember. But anyway, I wanted to ask that girl out, her roommate out, but I would never cross paths with her because I'm in university and we're in different programs. So I'd always try to like bump into her and ask her out, but it wouldn't ever happen. So my friend comes to me and she says, "Don't worry, come to my place, let's hang out, we'll watch movies. And if she ever walks in or if you cross paths with her, just ask her out." So I wasn't crossing paths with her even at my friend's apartment. And I'd have to just sit through my friend who would watch Nollywood movies all day long. And at first I was like, what the fuck is this show, man? It's so bad. It's so cheaply made. The camera's out of focus. What is this? And my friend would be like, no, it's cool. Just watch it. And after a while, the Nollywood like feel started growing on me. So some characteristics of Nollywood movies I've noticed, I feel like the plots are generally very stuff like forbidden relationships or a traitor, like a king that becomes a traitor, and it's these very big epic themes in these movies. I also like the way they talk in these movies. They speak in broken English, so you kind of have to watch it with subtitles, but every so often you get a glimpse of their expressions and you understand it because it's English. And their broken English, it has like a nice, it almost has like a melody to it when they speak. When Americans speak, it's just like blah, 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 blah. But when I watch Nollywood movies and when I hear that broken English language, there's like a nice flow to it, which I really appreciated. And I always notice how charismatic all their performances are. I talked about The Dead Next Door in this series, and I talked about how there's people in those movies who aren't actors, so they're kind of like half-assing it. That's also the case with Nollywood movies. Obviously, these aren't trained professionals, but they really pour their heart and soul in delivering every single line. So that was my introduction to Nollywood movies. So I'm thinking maybe you have to like get used to it a bit. Maybe like Bollywood, I guess. You have to get used to it in order to like start getting into it. So, what were my thoughts on Ojuju? Reason why this movie specifically caught my attention is that to me, I've never really, and I'm not familiar with Nollywood movies, so I'm sure there's some out there, but I don't see Nollywood as a horror kind of outlet. I see more dramas come out of there, kind of soap operas, but I didn't know there was much horror movies. I don't think there is. So that's how this movie caught my interest. I'm like, oh, okay, a horror movie, Nollywood movie. That's going to be interesting. Also, I've never seen a zombie movie take place in that kind of location, which is an impoverished African town, which I thought was interesting too. And ultimately, I wanted to bring some eyes towards the movie and towards Nollywood in general, because I do have a kind of soft spot for Nollywood. So, this movie, it follows Romero, and Romero is trying to survive a zombie apocalypse in this impoverished African village. And it kind of follows different characters too. You have like what they call the village slut. That's not my words, that's the film. And you have also this woman who's a prostitute. And it's a bunch of different stories going on. You have like two stoners as well. So it's a very fun movie to watch. I like this movie quite enough. Is this a good movie? Would I recommend it to anyone? I don't know. I simply don't know. But I feel like this movie just had so much heart poured into it. I couldn't help but smile, even if the quality is not like up to the standards of what we might expect. I found the director had a lot of love for American film. When you look at certain walls in the background of this film, there's like Eddie Murphy posters. I think there was a poster of him in Harlem Nights. The lead character in this movie is called Romero, which is an obvious homage to George Romero, who basically created the zombie movie. So there was a lot of love for American film, and that kind of seeps into this Nollywood movie. So it's kind of like a fusion film. The characters in this are pretty fun to watch. Everyone's really charismatic. Right off the bat, the first scene of the movie is two guys smoking weed and talking about having sex with a woman. And just the expressions they use, I think it's the tone they have. It's very funny. It really feels like two funny guys just smoking weed and talking about... I use inappropriate words, but it's just to kind of give you a feel of what the movie feels like. Guys smoking weed, talking about sex, laid back feel. All of a sudden, a zombie attacks them. That's how every movie should open. The camera trickery is very fun in this movie, and from other Nollywood movies that I've watched, it feels very stagey. It almost feels like older movies where they would just plant the camera, have the scene play out, cut, next scene. This director uses the camera, does some swooping shots, will pan to other characters and pan back. If a character is eavesdropping on another character, you'll see the two characters talk, and then the camera moves to the character who's eavesdropping. So I thought, compared to other Nollywood movies that I've seen from personal experience, I thought the camera work was definitely better. And overall, I did like the plot of this movie. I liked the groove of this film. It's very fast-paced. I wasn't bored during this movie at all. I'm going to shy away from putting clips from the movie in this review just because I want to encourage you guys to watch it. By the way, I had such a tough time finding this movie, but I was able to find it where you can rent it for 24 hours for, I think, $3. So I'll link that down below in the description if you're interested in this movie. A few scenes I thought came out of left field and weren't really necessary. Most notably, there's a scene where a character is constipated, and in order to cure their constipation, they smoke weed. I study in the health field. I've never heard of such a treatment for constipation. I've heard of prunes, not marijuana. But hey, if ever medical marijuana becomes a widespread thing, I'm sure it's going to be prescribed for constipation. There are some scenes where the camera work was a little distracting, and I feel like they could have done a second take. A lot of scenes were out of focus, and you're just like trying to tell what's going on. I can fault the movie's budget to that, but at the same time, not really, because we live in a digital age, and you should be able to do a second take, no problem. All you gotta do is delete the previous take and redo it. So I don't know what was the reasoning behind the camera being out of focus for those shots, because it wasn't like a subtle out of focus, it was like really out of focus. And it would be for like a solid 4 seconds sometimes, so you're just like, oh, what? But also, I've complained enough throughout this series about CG blood. Again, I don't like CG blood. I'll give this movie a pass just because it's a very, very, very low budget film. I'll give it a pass. Just for future reference, everyone should use red dye and corn syrup and water. I think that's the best way to do blood. And what I did, I needed to do a blood scene for a short film I did. I put in like a Miracle-Gro tank, and I would pump it and have the blood squirt. You guys can like steal that idea. I don't think I came up with it. I think it's a pretty obvious thing. But yeah, I'm not a fan of CG blood. Please, if anyone's listening to this video and is planning on making a film with fake blood, do not use your computer. My mentality is you want to leave as little work as possible for post-production. Do everything immediately because you'll know how it looks. Advice from Paul. Okay, so I talked about my love for Nollywood movies. Would I recommend this to a zombie fan? Probably not. Would I recommend this to a Nollywood fan? I don't know. From my experience watching Nollywood movies, it's always kind of been more soap operas, so I didn't even know that there was like if there's a huge market for like Nollywood zombie movies. I don't know, it might be a little too niche. Who knows? I had fun watching this movie. It's a good time. I wanted to watch it with my African friend today, just so I can get her take on it. But unfortunately, she was busy. She's been having a rough week. So I decided to cut her some slack. But this is a pasty white dude's review of a Nollywood movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm going to say this to the director. Please keep making movies. I have fun watching them.
Now,